to push that now. Um, so good morning, everyone. My name is Jared Morrison. I'm an organization development consultant with the OSU Extension Learning and Organizational Development Unit. And welcome this morning to this session, Time Management Tips Around Email Management. We're excited today to have Dr. Marie Ruemenapp from Michigan State University. So we appreciate Marie being here, and for all of you joining us this morning. Just a few points of housekeeping before we get going. So the slides should be appearing on your screen, but like I said, this will be recorded. We will have your mics muted so that our presenter can, as we said, for the kids mute button, so that the presenter can have time to think and flow through her presentation. We do encourage you to utilize the chat function. And if you're not in full screen mode, you should see a chat option down at the bottom of your screen. If you're in full screen, I believe that is under the More button on the top of your screen. So you can open up that chat, and please feel free to press comments and questions in there. I will keep an eye on that throughout the session. Usually at a conference, we'll have refreshments and things while we're in. You should hopefully be in your house or office, so that's on you. And the restrooms, hopefully you've located those as well. So if you need to get up at any time to take care of yourself, please do so. And for a listening tip there, you can see, use something tactile, take some notes. I know I like to get fidgety, so I have a few things here that stress balls and things that I play with. So try that. It's a good way to stay engaged in the conversation. So as we move forward then, I'm going to turn it over here in just a few minutes just a minute to our presenter. But again, it's Dr. Marie Ruemenapp. She is a co-director for MSU Extension's Urban Collaborators Program and an outreach specialist for the Urban and Planning and Regional Planning Program at Michigan State University's School of Planning, Design, and Construction. And on November 1st, she'll be celebrating 33 years with Michigan State University. So we'll congratulate Marie on that, and also know that we have some good experience for tips and tricks today. So we appreciate you being here, Marie. And without further ado, Marie, I will hand it over to you. I'll stop sharing, and you should have access to share your presentation.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jared. I'm hoping you can all see my presentation now and hear me effectively. Okay, great, good. Well, as Jared said, I currently have a position in the School of Planning, Design, and Construction at Michigan State University with a pretty close to a 100% appointment to support extension. Through my 33 years with Michigan State University Extension, or you'll probably hear me periodically refer to it as MSUE, because that's something that we do here pretty consistently. I've held a variety of administrative positions like regional director or district director. And so those positions have come with extensive amounts of email. And so what I'm going to share with you today are some things that that I've learned through my own experiences, as well as tips and tricks that I've learned through a number of time management programs that I've been to help me stay organized in some of those roles. So to get us started, first of all, I want to just share some general time management pointers, because even though today we're talking specifically about email, general time management pointers apply to your use of email and just your general work. And so, you know, as we heard Jared say, keep your hands busy so you're not multitasking. So first of all, when you're working, do not multitask. There's lots of research out there that shows that it really causes inefficiencies. You can be most effective when you focus on one task or job at a time and eliminate other distractions. And the other thing I would encourage you to do is to watch what are the time wasters, especially now that we're working in different environments, a lot of us from home, where maybe in our office, we had kind of identified those and we're able to eliminate those. But here in the last 6, 7 months, right, we're working in a different environment, and the distractions are so much more. And so trying to figure out what they are and how you can minimize them. The other thing that is important for time management is to identify your personal times of high and low energy and plan your work accordingly. Um, Jared and Judy and I were chatting a bit, as we were prepping for this session, and talking about different times that people were working in order to help accommodate the schedules of all family members in their home. And so, I want you to encourage you to think about what's your personal times, highs of lows, when can you plan your work schedule around them, and then point out that email is generally a good low energy task. Doesn't oftentimes take a lot of your brain power to sort of go through your email. The other thing that's important with any time management is to set and follow priorities, and remember your priorities, not the priorities of others. We often get email from people saying like, I need this now, or just kind of interrupting your workflow. So I know that many of you may be providing support to people, and your priority is to provide support in a way that would answer those, but in some cases it may not be. So just thinking about what those priorities are and how you stay on task and manage to accomplish your priorities. And then remember that email's not your job. Okay, just sitting there going through your email for most of us is not really our job. And that just because you're busy doing email doesn't mean that you're actually productive. So think about that. Okay. Then in terms of specific time wasters that people often experience with email, I just want you to think, since we're in this virtual time frame, how many of you handle your email first thing in the morning? For many of you, I want to encourage you, do not handle your email first thing in the morning. Mornings are often people's most alert and potentially productive work periods. And so you really want to use those on tasks that are productive, that take a lot of brain power, and not ones that are just busy tasks, which are more often your email. So some ways to do this is to look through your email quickly for the urgent issues, maybe first thing in the morning, and then move on, or to handle a few emails in between larger work tasks. When I was in a district director and regional director role where I was getting somewhere between 100 to 200 emails a day, I would basically in between large tasks say, okay, I'm going to handle like 20 email, just 20 quick email. And then I'd move on to my bigger tasks. And then what you also want to do is set a block of time, maybe later in the day when your energy is lower, to actually go through all your email. And let the people you work with know that you might only be checking your email 2 or 3 times a day, if that's a possibility for you. Like, I'm going to check it between 1 and 3, or, so that people aren't expecting you to be on your email all day long, and to give them other options of ways to communicate with you if it's urgent, through messaging, through text, through Teams. I mean, there's a lot of other options. Then we could always go back to the good old phone call, right? So, if you are checking your email constantly, unless this is really a necessity of your job, stop. This is a huge distraction. And so it reduces your productivity by constantly, interjecting itself in the work that you're doing. And some possible solutions that you might consider if you have the potential to do this is turn off your email notifications, the sounds, the pop-ups. I mean, for most of us, the default on Outlook is like whenever you get an Outlook message, the little envelope, turns, a different color so that you know it's there. If you're someone who watches that and as soon as you see it goes into your email, you're constantly being distracted by that. Um, the other thing, if you can't just help yourself, even by turning that off, don't keep your email open unless you're answering email. Now, for me, I really use it as a basis to file, and you're going to see this later on, my work tasks and other things. But you can disconnect the ability for Outlook to be constantly downloading email. You can set it so that you only do it manually or at certain times of the day. And so think about those things if that's something as you're thinking about your work habits, like, yeah, I'm that person that Marie is talking about. As soon as I see the little icon that I have an email, I immediately stop what I'm doing and go look at it. Then you want to be thinking about some ways to not be distracted and doing that. The other thing that you want to think about is work to reduce the amount of email you receive or you have to read. Get off as many email lists as possible. Sign up for email groups and lists frugally. Use the rules and the filters to reduce the amount of email in your inbox. Set up rules to have email from lists or feeds deposited directly into a folder so that you can look at them when you have time. Use the reply all sparingly. I know that we've all been victims, and I use that word deliberately, victims of, some email where somebody hits reply all, and the next thing you know, you've got 6 or 8 or 10, if you're lucky, and it's not 20 or 30 emails that went to the whole list, and they just fill your inbox, right? And then you've got to go through and figure out if any of them are relevant to you. So I know that that's annoying to me when it happens. So be careful about that. I'm sure it's annoying to you as well. And then really try to be considerate of others so that they learn to be considerate of you as well. And really think about, do I need to send a response to this email? And if you do, keep it short. Like, thanks, noted, got it, put it on my to-do list. And then encourage others to do the same, that like they don't need to, if you're like, here's this job I was working on for you, or this is done, not to, maybe you just get a quick email that says thanks, or maybe you don't get anything, okay, other than, occasionally, to just try and reduce the amount of email. The other thing too is learn to handle your email efficiently and effectively, and keep your inbox lean. Okay, and I'm going to show you what my version and everybody's version of lean for their inbox is probably different. But strive for empty and or organized. Okay, so that you're not having to go through things multiple times. You really want to try and handle your email only once. And this is using the 4D method. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of this before, but this is something that if you go into any of the tutorials for Outlook on Microsoft Office, they'll talk about the 4Ds method. And in a couple email management classes I've taken, they've talked about the 4Ds method. So this is a pretty common method that's out there that's encouraged, or people are encouraged to do. And what are the 4Ds? First of all, when you read it, if it like doesn't pertain to you, or you're just simply like, okay, I got that, then delete it. Immediately delete it. Okay, don't keep it in your inbox. Don't put it someplace else. Then the second thing in the 4Ds method is do it, and use this 2-minute rule. If it would take you less than 2 minutes to handle the email, handle it right away, then delete it or file it and get it out of your box, okay? Handle it once, just do it and get rid of it. The third D is delegate it. So if you read something and you're like, oh, I've got to send this to so and so, or I've got to, um, basically use the 2-minute rule, delegate it to someone else, get it out of your inbox, and then delete it or file it, put it in your task list to check on later on, whatever you need to do with it, but handle it. Then the last one is defer it. And you want to create a task in your to-do list or an appointment on your calendar for a time when you're going to return to this particular email and respond to it or do the job that's been assigned to you in this email. And I'm going to show you later on a really quick way to do this. Okay. So other ways of handling your email efficiently and effectively. Read your newest emails first. This can often eliminate the need to read like all the emails in a string. Oftentimes if you're away from your email a little bit, somebody else is responding. So if you just pull up the last email that came into your email inbox and you kind of start at the bottom or wherever you left off in the string and read up, then that can eliminate the need for you to be clicking other email and kind of going through all of those responses. The other thing too is if you get a lot of this type of email, consider using the thread feature in Outlook, which actually puts all of the email within a particular string of emails together. The other thing is learn to not play email ping pong. And I bet you all know what this is, okay? That's where I'm like, hey, you want to meet? And then I get an email that says, sure, what works for you? Oh, maybe this Wednesday. Oh no, I can't do it on Wednesday. It's almost like a phone call, right, over email. So if you need to have that sort of conversation, consider picking up the phone and actually calling someone. Or if you need to have more interaction, consider texting or messaging, and really consider, is email the best way to communicate? Okay. The other thing is, this is probably less of an issue these days since most of us are working from home. Given the types of jobs that you have, you might not be on the road maybe as much as, say, the educators or administrators that I often do this session for. But if you do a lot of work on your mobile device, or really any work on your mobile device in terms of checking your email, mobile devices are great to keep us connected, but really they're only good for handling the first 3 Ds, which, remember, are delete it because you read it, do it, or delegate it. The fourth D really needs to be done on your PC or maybe a tablet, where you actually can interact effectively with your calendar or Outlook task list. So in those cases, if you're handling your email on your mobile, you may need to actually handle the deferred tasks more than once, but it will help you um, kind of stay connected and get rid of those first 3 Ds. The other thing too is, if you've got a high-paced job, you really need to learn to focus and slow down when you're reading your email. Or like these days with working at home, when we might have children or significant others or other family members, and there's lots of distractions, this could, slow down, focus, and really handle your email so you only have to handle it once. The other thing too is think about how you can write more efficient and effective emails, helping yourself, and then encourage and share these techniques with people you work with. And one way to do this is get to the outcome you want from your email first. Write it backwards. Okay. Lead with the question, action, or response desired. Be brief and get to the point. Make sure it contains all the information, or tell the reader where they can find it. So in the case of the example I was using, hey, you want to meet? Yeah, sure. How about, Wednesday? Oh, Wednesday doesn't work for me. What you want to do is, in that kind of case, is start with, hey, do you want to meet? Here's my availability for the next week. Let me know what works for you and I'll set up a meeting for us. Okay, that way the person has all the information to respond and knows that when you send a meeting request, you've talked all that out in one email, right? Or you shared all that information in one email, and they can email you back once you set up the meeting, you're done. So also help your reader read your email. Use your subject line effectively to communicate what you want. Keep the format clean. No backgrounds, fancy fonts, red text, capitalization, highlighting. Same with your signature blocks. This is getting better, but sometimes these really, depending on people's eyesight or setups they have, it can make it very difficult to read, especially on some of the mobile devices. But I found I got an email earlier this week or maybe the end of last week that had a gray background and the font was really small and I had to like figure out how to blow it up so that I could read it. Okay, so just keep those things in mind. um, is the point of email for it to look cool and neat or funny, or is it to communicate your work, right, and get your job done? The other ways to set to get and stay organized in terms of features with Outlook is set up folders and categories. I suspect many of you, if not probably close to all of you, are already doing this. You can also set up rules or use conditional formatting in terms of where emails go when they come into your inbox. Learn to use the search feature effectively, especially if you're using a lot of folders and categories. The other one is use signature block feature to set up email templates. If you're doing a lot of like meeting notices or agendas or frequently set email, this can just save you a ton of time, right? Use the click and drag feature to turn emails into tasks, calendar events, or contacts. Use the task feature to connect your tasks with your email, especially these days where a lot of the tasks are coming in through email because that's the only way that we're communicating. We're not seeing each other for the most part. And use the scheduling assistant and web meeting wizards to help set up meetings, which I suspect at this point many of you are doing. So with that, I'm going to actually demo some of these things unless I have some questions, Jared, that people would like ask about the information that I've already shared.
Yeah, so thanks, Maria. I don't see anything in there yet, but maybe if we pause for a second, I'm not sure if anyone has specific questions at this time. That tip about the signature block, I've never thought about that, but that would be a big time saver.
Yeah,
Create templates.
it is a big time saver.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's one that that often people don't consider. Okay, so I'm going to actually share my inbox with you. Okay, give me just a second. I want to adjust just a little. Thank you. Okay, so here is my Outlook. Okay, email. And you'll see that my inbox has a lot of stuff in it. Okay, lots of stuff. Okay, but you'll also notice at the top, I've got it organized so that my newest email that has just come in here in the last hour or so that I haven't had a chance to respond to are up here at the top. Okay, and then you'll see I have all these other emails that might be actually, this is from December. Here's one. Well, that's maybe the oldest one we're seeing here, but you're seeing that I have a lot of them. Okay, the other thing too is you'll see here over on the left that I have tons of folders, right, set up to organize email. Now, Microsoft Office, if you go in and take any of their tutorials or you've ever participated in other Outlook trainings, Microsoft Office actually recommends the use of categories, which are these color codings, and folders, which are these different folders along the left side of the menu, to use them differently than I use them. Okay. But there's lots of options, and you need to figure out what works best for you, because this is your time management tool, right? For me, how I've learned to use these is for those of you who've maybe been with Extension for a while and have had maybe a lot of paper sorts of things. I started obviously with Extension 33 years ago, where most of the things that I got came in snail mail, where, you know, when I first started, I might get a stack of snail mail like this every day that I'd have to go through. And we only had one computer in the office, and they would print out the email that we got, and we'd have to write a response, and then one of the support staff would like type our response back in and send it, right? So the technology in terms of the amount of time I have spent with Extension has changed a lot. Some of you are probably laughing at me at this point in terms of those types of ways of working. Today, I can go a whole week and get like this much snail mail, right? But I could, yesterday was a pretty active day, and I probably got about 50 email. Okay. So how I have learned to work is really based on the way that I used to work with paper. And so I used to have stacks of paper on my desk of things that I was keeping track of, projects I was working on, things that I might need to get my hands on fairly quickly. So what I've done in my Outlook is I've actually set up a set of categories where I can put things in based on sort of the piles I might have had in the past, or files that I might have had on my desk in the past. So you'll see things like things I'm working on, items to follow up, items that are on hold, important tracking, very important things that I don't want to lose, items that are maybe a little less important, but I don't want to lose. And then you'll see sort of towards the bottom, in fact, maybe I can start to close some of these. You'll see like a whole set of sort of project or activity sorts of um, meeting agendas. So you'll see like different folders where I have a whole set of email in them. Okay. And these are in my inbox. So you can see like I've got a lot of them here with a lot of email in them. Periodically, probably once every 4 to 6 weeks, I try to go through and clean all of these out. Lately, it's probably been 3 months. So I'm a little behind on these. And what I do is I use my folders over here, more like my file cabinet that I used to use in my office. And so once I've got a project that I've completed, I might drag everything out of that over into one of these folders over here. Or if I get an email that like, oh, okay, I've recorded this, but I don't want to lose it because I might need to refer to it later on, I drag it over into one of my folders or put it in my file cabinet. And then periodically, I also go through my file cabinet and clean my folders out and archive things or delete things. I used to do that oftentimes when I might be sitting on a Zoom and I'm just kind of listening. Like once a month, Michigan Extension has an all staff meeting for about an hour to an hour and a half. And, you know, you're listening, you're paying attention, but you could also be multitasking. And so I would clean, you know, some folders. I don't know, lately with so many Zoom meetings and doing more work, I've just found myself maybe not doing this as much. So as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, yeah, I probably need to like do some cleaning here. Okay, but that's how I use my folders and my my categories. If you're doing something different and you like this, I know people have said to me, well, how do I get started? Because like it could be overwhelming. I always laugh at my sister. At any given time, she has over 1,000 email in her inbox. She has no folders, no categories, and she's constantly searching for things, right? And I know she's not alone. You may not be as you may not have that sort of organization for your inbox that she does, but if you have something less organized and you want to get more organized, what I encourage you to do is just take a block of time, an hour here, half hour there. Maybe if there's a particular Zoom that you're sitting on where you're listening and you kind of have to take it in, but it doesn't take the full bandwidth of your time. Just begin with the most recent stuff and start organizing it into categories or folders or however you want to organize it, and do it over time. I always relate organizing this stuff to like moving. And if any of you have ever moved and you've done it like, oh, I've got a weekend to like move into my new place, right? And you go in and you unpack, 50 boxes and you put everything away. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, I know that I had that scissors, but I don't know. I remember unpacking it. I don't remember what drawer I put it in. And you can look for weeks or months for that scissors, right? And then all of a sudden, and it's just frustrating. And all of a sudden you open up some drawer and you're like, there's that insert word, scissors, right? And so I equate organizing your email the same way. Take it slow. Only put a box, away maybe a day so that you can remember where you put things. And if you decide that the organization is not working for you, you don't have everything organized so that you have to take things apart. Jared, are we seeing a question pop in?
Just silly comments. Kay was saying you'll find those scissors right after you have already purchased new ones.
Yes. Okay. That's absolutely correct. So the other thing, go ahead.
Marie, there is a question. Someone says they have lots of folders, but how do you make those categories? Maybe you're getting to that.
Okay, categories are so easy, guys. Up here, you see a little categories button. And to do that, basically, you just come in here and you click all categories. And maybe I did clear all categories. No. I do it so so spontaneously. Okay, guys, I gotta move something around here. There we go. Okay, it's click all categories. Okay, so you can either click on something like I just did and you get all categories from that list, or you should be able to click this button and click all categories. You get a screen that looks like this. You just hit new, you name it, you pick a snazzy little color, and you hit OK. Okay, and then you over time, you get a set of snazzy little colors. The other thing that I've learned to do, because I want my categories organized in a certain manner, and Outlook will automatically organize them alphabetically. So I want the things working on, things I've handled, but things I need to return to fairly quickly, right after my email that I haven't handled, right? So you can see I put a number in front of it. So it's 0, 0, things working on, 0, 1, items to follow up, 0, 1, on hold. And then I've got important tracking, very important items. Those are 1s. I've got 2s, 3s, and then you'll see I've got some at the bottom here that I don't really care how they're organized. They're going to be at the bottom, and they don't have any numbers in front of them. So that's how I get them to appear in a particular order in my email inbox.
Thank you. So we had a question. Are these the same categories that'll be in your calendar? Do you know?
Yes, they are, and you'll see that in my calendar. I have certain things color coded. So yes, you can code them. I actually use some of the categories for the same projects and things, but I also have some variation in this. But yes, you can color code your calendar this way as well. Okay.
Great. We
So
had
the other thing I want to show you is that, let me pick one here. In my folders, oh, this one's not one. It's not currently organized. Oh, this is one that's not. Let me find one here. I think this one is, yep. Okay, here's a good one. Okay, so in my file cabinet over here, or in my folders, I also have certain things that are over in the folder that I want to be able to easily find. This is a contractual project that I'm working on with some faculty. And so we've got some things that uh, I wanted, like the draft of the agenda, the contract that we have with them, the budget for the project, things that I don't need in my inbox, but at some point I'm going to need to find them fairly easily. So you'll also see those categories transfer over into your folder, and depending on the way that you organize your folder, which how to do that, you can do basically. Here, let me show this again. You do a right mouse click up here at the top. You get settings and views. You can go in here, group by, and you can see that I have it organized by categories, descending. And then when I open up this folder, those things that I've tagged as like very important, or maybe they're past meeting agendas, or whatever those categories were in my inbox over here. I'm clicking the wrong one. Over here, the categories here, those transfer into my folders over here on the left. So if you put that the categories are descending, so that the stuff that's categorized pops to the top, or you can have it pop to the bottom, whichever is more convenient for you. But in this case, I want them popping to the top. In my regular inbox, I have them go to the bottom. Okay, then you can find these things more easily in this whole set of email that you might have in this particular folder. The other thing too is, if you want, this stuff categorized, all these things that aren't categorized here in some way, this just happens to have one category, but in some cases there might be two or three, and they'll be organized up here at the top. So those are some ways to find things. The other thing too is, you guys are probably all aware of this, but Outlook has a search feature up here, and learn to become really, if you're really using your Outlook as sort of like your place to store your files and things, uh, learn to use the search feature as effectively as you possibly can. Okay. The other thing you want to learn, if there are no other questions.
we have a couple, Marie, if
Okay.
you.
Yep.
So
Go ahead.
the first, and they might tie slightly together, but the first says kind of a short-term project, so something that might be active for 3 months or less. How do you recommend using the categories and folders for those? So might be active for 3 months or less, but then will happen again a year later.
That's a great question. Like, our fall extension conference is the first one that I have that's kind of like that. And so I have a folder over here, someplace that says fall extension conference, and I have a category that says fall extension conference. So I've been on the planning committee. I've often, presented, and I want to keep those things together because it's a short-term project. I will put all of them in my, let me see if I can go to my categories. You'll see FEC, Fall Extension Conference. I will put all of those correspondences in this category and keep them in my inbox. And then our Fall Extension was here the end of September, and I haven't cleaned. Okay, there's too much stuff to go to. I'm sure if I could find my category that says Fall Extension Conference, all the correspondences for this last Fall Extension Conference are in there. When I got a chance, yep, there we go. I may have, so you'll see. There's all the Fall Extension Conference correspondences from this year. If I was cleaning and I want to clean this out, I would find my Fall Extension Conference folder over here. Here it is right here. And I would just simply do a click at the top, hold the shift button down. You guys probably all know this. And basically click and drag these over here. And now my Fall Extension Conference category disappears because I have nothing that's categorized in it. But it's all over here in my email or in my folders. The other thing that Outlook has done recently is they've defaulted your folders to appear according to order. I personally don't like this because I use the categories. So when I find one of these, I often come in and just take that off, but it's up to you how you want to organize these. These are all now categorized as FEC. If I wanted to change that, I could, once again, do a click at the top, hold the shift button, click down, go in here, choose my category. You'll see that the FEC category is highlighted. I could click it and then it takes all of those off. Probably here when I get around to cleaning, I'll actually go through these and delete them, but that's how I would handle that. Any other question, Jared?
There was, I think you may have just answered it. It was asking if folders order email by who it's from and categories order email by importance and or how it should be handled. But you kind of set that up yourself.
Right, you determine that by going up here and doing a right mouse click and view settings and then group by and determining how those group by. You can group them by categories. You can do like by date received, who it's received by. You have lots and lots of choices in the way of organizing these. And so you just need to begin to play with these, okay? A couple other things I want to be sure to show you. Be sure that also that you're learning how to use like your rules. Okay, so if you get an email, I've got a lot of rules set up. Okay, if you're getting a lot of email from a particular place, or if you have more than one email and you want things like I have a second email that I just used to pay some bills and some other things, and I get a lot of spam email from it. And so if somebody sends something to me, I don't want to look at it. I don't get anything of any importance. And so you can basically click on an email and choose this rules, and you can say like always move to junk or whatever, but you can create a rule. Okay, if you click on this, and this one is, from Holly with this sent to me, and you have some choices in terms of like putting it in your junk mail folder. Or I was talking with an educator once, and she's in charge of a program that's online. And when people finish it, she gets an email that says like, I finished my last test, and she has to issue certificates. And once a week or once every couple weeks, she'll like go through and she'll issue certificates for anybody who's completed the course in the last week or two or whatever the time frame is. And so she set up a folder, and then she set up a rule. And so that automatic email that, that comes in that says I'm finished goes into that folder. And then at the end of the week or 2 weeks or whatever her time period is, she goes into that folder, and anybody she's got an email from, she issues a certificate. But then she doesn't have to have those emails coming into her inbox. And so at one point in time, when I had an administrative job, I I got a lot of requests to approve expenditures or travel or things like that. And so I had an inbox for that. And the staff knew that they needed to use particular subject lines, that started with like travel or expense. I forget exactly what they were, but those would automatically go into a folder. So that was when I was getting like between 100 and 200 email a day. That way I could just simply watch that folder, which I then set up in my favorites up here, and I could basically click on it and get those handled in a very efficient manner so that staff weren't waiting for me to get through all of my email to handle their approvals. The other thing too is, maybe there's a particular, and you can just do so many things with these rules. I don't have it set up currently, but when I was an administrator and I was like working way too fast, I would find myself often like sending an email and realizing I hadn't put everything in the email that I wanted to, or thinking of something else that I needed to say. And so I set a delayed send out so that I had 5 minutes. So if I finished a task and I like grabbed a cup of coffee and I walked back to my computer and I'm like, oh darn, I forgot to say that, I could quickly pull up the email and make that addition before it went out, which was extremely helpful to me. In my current role, I changed my email stuff, and I was doing settings, and I was finding that I really didn't need that rule anymore. So I don't have it set up, but you can set up lots of rules. So learn how to do rules. The other thing you can do is you can do what they call conditional formatting. You play with this, and maybe there's a particular person or two you get a lot of email that's very important from, and you want that to pop out of your inbox. So you could go in and say anything that comes from Jared turns red, and it automatically, I can pull it out of my inbox list so that I can see it really quickly. Jared, other questions at this point? We may have lost Jared for a minute. Okay, doesn't look like I've got any new questions at the moment. Let's go to that signature block feature. Okay, so to find your signature blocks, you guys probably all know this, but you would go to File, and then Options, Mail, Signature Blocks. Okay, and you can see here that this is where you would set up your signature block. You can see that I have a whole bunch of signature blocks. Okay, so this one I assign new staff mentors for staff in extension that are working in certain places. And so I have some that are called mentor. So when I get an email from HR that says I have a new person that I need to reach out to, I take a new email, I set up a new email, and I use this email to send them an email. And I'll show you how I do that. But you can see here lots and lots of different signature blocks. Okay, and how you set these up is if there's an email that you send pretty consistently, you would just basically prep that email, do a copy like Control C, or do your drop down menu and copy it, come to signature block, do new, name it, and then basically do a paste here, and then save your new signature block, and you'd have a new signature block. Okay, and so now you see I have a new signature block up here, and this is it. So then when I get out of this, so then when I have a new email, this may have went to a different screen. Can you see the new email at this point? Are you still seeing my whole?
Still seeing the whole
Okay, let
inbox.
me show this. Okay, so here's my new email that I get when I just click email with my standard signature block. But this is an email that I'm going to handle for mentoring, right? So I would go up here to signature, and you can see that here's the signature block I just set up, right? But that's not the one we want for this. So I want mentor, welcome to MSU. I click that one, and I get my email automatically populated. Okay. So it tells me which attachments I need. It gives me the subject line. So all I need to do is like come up here, drop my subject line in, go to insert, do my attachments, add them. I can take these out then, fill in the red spots, dear so-and-so, welcome, put their email in, hit click, send, and it's off. Okay. I chair a national group in Urban, and I periodically share information with that group. So I have a signature block that's Newell on subscribe. And so I can basically come in here and put this on top of some email that I'm sending so that it tells people I can, and then craft an email that says, I thought you might be interested in this email, or, look at this or whatever. And then we're getting several thousand people on this email. And so periodically people are asking like, I don't want to get as much email from you, or I don't want to be on this email list anymore. And so we tell them how to unsubscribe to basically reduce the amount of email I get in my inbox, so people aren't emailing me back and say, please unsubscribe me, when I in fact can't unsubscribe them. They have to unsubscribe themselves. And so I tell them that right up front. And so I do a lot of work with another individual. And so when we're sending out joint email, here's one for the two of us. I recommend this to educators who get a lot of email, particularly like Hort or 4-H educators, or like, how do I join 4-H? What do I do with ladybugs? Those sorts of things. Email that you might constantly repeat. Okay, you can set up an email here and basically just use this. So I send out this group once a month. We have a meeting, so here's my meeting agenda, and I just have to do my attachments and put my list in here, and off it goes. So this can save you a ton of time on those emails that you're constantly, having to do over and over again. For my in this one, even I have the email address even in here, where you can just basically drag it up. Okay. Drag it up, fill in the month, do the attachment, boop, it's gone. Okay, so any questions about this one? This one, if you haven't seen it before, I'm seeing it blows my mind. Yeah. Yes, I see the question. Do I use the same thing for my personal email? Yes. I have a couple personal emails, and I have them come into my work Outlook, but I have them organize one email. I have it go into a particular folder and I monitor it at certain times, like once or twice a week. I'll go in and look to see what's there and delete everything else. And then the other one, I have it just forwarded into my inbox from my personal email, and I deal with it right in my inbox with my work email. But yes, I do this personally. I have all my email come right into my main inbox. Okay, so it'll all show up here. Okay. Let's see. The other thing is like, okay, so let's say this email is something. Oh, let's say Michelle's email is something here that I need to work on later today. So the other thing that you can do when I was talking about the 4th D really is to like click and drag it on your calendar. And then it'll pop up. Oh, it's not going to do it without me sharing. But anyways, it'll pop up with a new appointment. If you drag it to your task list, it'll pop up with a new task, and you basically can fill it out, so that can save you time. The other thing too is if it's a person you want to add to your contact list, you can drag it to your contact list, and it'll pre-populate a contact. So that can help you as well in terms of with that 4th D. So I see we've got just a couple minutes left, and so I want to return to my PowerPoint and just kind of do the quick wrap up for you guys. So
Yeah, Marie, thanks. Lots of comments liking that template basically feature for the signature block. So I think
yeah,
that
that's a
was that
snazzy
one tip.
Yeah, exactly. That one tip could have been worth this hour that you just spent with me, right? So in terms of just recapping, your positive email time management tips, use the 4D method, use your high energy times to do more productive things, block off time in your schedule to address items that are in your task list, designate a time each day, to review your task list and get organized. And then, oops, I'm getting some help from a friend. And at the beginning of the week or the end of the week, review your calendar and task list and make sure that you're keeping it organized. And parting advice, it's always crazy, but at this point it's especially crazy. So don't be reactive, try to make a plan and stick to it so you can stay sane. But do regularly assess your plan for success and make adjustments as needed. If there's things in here that you want to work on, try 1 or 2 improvements at a time or changes. And then if you want to learn more about some of the things I shared or how to do these things, because this is only an hour and I go pretty quick, office.com training has all kinds of videos that'll show you these things. So I just want you to think for yourself, what's the one thing you saw today that you're going to do, and write it down, put it in your to-do list, make a plan, because lots of cool things today, but it's important that you pick 1 or 2 and commit to it. So with that, thank you for your participation today.
And thank you very much, Marie. We certainly appreciate your time. Like I said, that one tip alone probably will save me hours or weeks of my life moving forward. I think we got to all the questions, and you're right, we're right about on time. So unless anyone has anything real quickly here in just a second, again, thank you very much, Marie. Thank you to you all for joining us and for being a great audience. I did just housekeeping. I believe this is the last session for today. but you do have more sessions beginning Monday morning at 9 a.m. with breakout session 5. And then obviously the conference going through Monday and Tuesday. So again, please find your agendas and which topics you're headed to. But thanks again, Marie. We really appreciate your time. And thank you to you all. We'll see you soon.